Hello and welcome to my third video on designing virtual reality cockpits. This one that you're about to see is actually something I haven't been able to build. What you're seeing in the camera is a paper model made out of tagboard of a virtual reality cockpit that I actually want to build. Unfortunately, living here in Korea, I don't have access to a table saw or a circular saw in order to actually make this, and trying to get any Korean workers to do the cuts for me is pretty much impossible. Anyway, this design was inspired very heavily by a German design called the Simlight, S-I-M-L-I-G-H-T, and I strongly recommend, if you find this interesting, that you look up the Simlight. The Simlight was really cool, very nicely designed, very precisely designed. The thing I didn't like about the Simlight was that it has a lot of really complicated cuts, and it looks really quite difficult to make. And so if you've been watching the other two videos, you know that I like to do things that are simply very easy and straightforward to do. And what I realized is that using the basic idea for the Simlight, I could design something that was really super easy to construct. The Simlight is built out of plywood and hinges. That's basically it. Here, to simulate it, this is a 1/4 scale model. That is 1 inch on this model is 4 inches on an actual one, or that is 1 inch, and the actual seat would be 1/4 inch on this model. So here's my hand. Anyway, what would happen is this design, what I really like about it is that if you have a normal standard 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, you could use that sheet to build exactly 2 of these with very little waste. All the pieces would come out. In fact, here is most of the waste that would come out. You would get what would be two 7-inch by 1-foot pieces that are wasted, plus another tiny piece that I don't happen to have here that would be about 9 square inches total would be wasted in addition to your sawdust. So less than 10% of the board, if you used a standard sheet, 4x8 sheet of plywood, less than 10% of the material in it would be wasted in building 2 cockpits. What's great about this design? First of all, when you sit in it, you would be kicked back. Of course, I would put seat cushions on here. I'm still trying to pick out what I would want for seat cushions. The stick would go here, the throttle would go here, and the rudder pedals would go here. Stick, throttle, and rudder makes this the S.T.A.R seat. So based on the Simlight, I've designed the S.T.A.R stick, throttle, and rudder S.T.A.R seat design. This would, when you're sitting in it, would put your knees up above the stick and the throttle, which is an ideal position with very tight squeeze, and you would be have these very close to you below, and then your feet would fit into the rudder pedals here. The seat, this entire design is folding, so it was made to be portable, which is something I really like. The seat would flip up, first of all, so you have a stash area under here. Underneath, you could put a 6-pack. You could have a snack like a bowl of Wheaties there for your enjoyment. Actually, it would also be possible, depending on the kind of case or a caseless computer, you could fit a computer directly under here, so you could actually attach everything straight out of here, right underneath your seat with easy access to it by flipping up the seat. The next thing that you do is this brace. There is a brace here in the middle. If you pick up this brace, then you can fold it here, fold this up, and the back panel folds as well. So then this would be entirely portable. In a full-size model of this, the distance from here to here would be 3 feet, and the width would be 31 inches. So 36 inches by 31 inches. Out of 3/4 inch plywood with the hinges and a good paint job, with nothing cut out to save weight, this entire unit would weigh between 35 and 40 pounds. Certainly luggable, not terribly portable, but also not terribly heavy. Of course, the sim light uses a few ideas in order to reduce the weight, significantly reduce the weight of the entire unit. These get cut at a 45-degree angle. They also get cut at a 45-degree angle on the front side. The back of this unit is probably much higher than it truly needs to be, and it certainly could be cut in. But for a very basic, direct, straight design, this works very, very well. So it all folds up. It has a storage area underneath. If I could actually get this designed exactly the way that I want to, I would go to the center here after the joystick. Oh, by the way, the particular joystick throttle and pedals that I'm looking at that this was designed for are the Saitek X-52f along with the ProFlight Combat rudder pedals from Saitek. Heavy metal construction, ideal for long-term use. So these arms are actually 7 inches wide because it's 7-inch base, roughly a 7-inch base, slightly less on the Saitek controllers. Anyway, if I could make a few special modifications, I'd like to cut a circular hole in here. You know those foam beer caddies for keeping your beer cool in the summer with a rim on it. So you just put the hole in here, you drop the beer caddy in, and then while you're driving your mech or doing a flight simulator, the caddy will keep your beer cold and conveniently located pretty much out of the way because most of the can will be below the seat. Over here I would cut an identical hole so you could keep your beer on either side of you, or what I would do is actually have an ashtray that fit in because certainly if you just set up an ashtray on the edge of the seat, you're bound to knock it off and make a mess. But if there's a proper round ashtray sunk in here, it would be great. I'd also probably want to cut a hole. I'd certainly want to round this off somehow or make some design here. But I'd want to cut a hole in here also for easy carrying, maybe an elliptical hole rather than a perfectly round one. But other than that, this design's really very, very simple. I'm going to put this in front of the camera. You won't be able to read it properly, but this is the one-sheet design. I have measurements in both metric and, well, it's primarily in metric, but I have them in inches as well. And if there's anyone in Europe or Asia or the rest of the world who's wondering why so many North Americans continue hanging on to their inch system, well, the do-it-yourself people know something, and that is that inches are very often much easier to work with than millimeters and centimeters. And it certainly shows if you compare the millimeter dimensions to the inch dimensions, it's certainly a lot easier to work with. When I did the model, I had a choice. I could have scaled on millimeters or scaled on inches, and choosing inches for the scaling was the clear choice to do to build this model. On the bottom, of course, if you know anything about professional furniture making, you know that once you cut a board from the factory edge, you're not going to get ideal or perfect boards that are coming from many, many cut edges, which is part of the reason I can't get any Korean furniture builder to do the cuts for me, because they're always trying to do everything in a perfectly professional way, whereas all I want are some boards that are more or less approximately what I want. So anyway, in this case, at the bottom of the page, I put instructions on where to put your saw blade. You might need to cut right or left of a line, or sometimes on center of a line, in order to get a few things to work out properly. So those instructions are on there, and they should be pretty clear and easy to understand. I will be scanning that page, and by the time this video goes up, there should be a link in the description in order to allow you to simply download the plan, the one-sheet plan for this directly from my primary website. Anyway, this is a S.T.A.R seat, stick, throttle, and rudder. And I think that it looks like a really, really nice design. I'm sitting here really wishing that I had some way to have this thing cut up for me. It would be quite a fair amount of work, but pretty simple. Basically, you're looking at roughly 16 cuts on a sheet of plywood to make one of these. And then you would need, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and in the back, looking at the back, how it's held up with a triangle, 10. You'd need about 10 hinges, good wide hinges, in order to put this all together properly. Additionally, one thing you might want to do for support is, you need another hinge or two down here as well. So say a dozen. Make it a nice even dozen hinges. One thing you might want to do is once this is together, if it slides around, this might become unstable, which wouldn't be a good thing. So of course I might decide to take in the back here and put one screw straight through the back in order to screw the back to the center brace that's sitting here. But still, I like this design. You just flip up the seat, you pull the center brace out and pick it up, fold, and you would be ready to go. Lugging without the controllers, approximately 35, maybe 40 pounds. With the controllers, I don't know, what is that, another 10 to 15 pounds probably added on. Certainly 45 to 55 pounds wouldn't be too terribly much to carry, plus your computer. One thing I'm hoping is that ultimately we can get into really nice, easy, light, portable virtual reality systems. So one thing that I would do after building this, if I had the money and could do exactly what I wanted with this material, I would build this seat, get some really nice cushions to go in here. I would then get Turex. I use a Turex case for my main home computer. Turex is made in Korea, and they make really, really wonderful acrylic cases that are open air design. And they have a new design that's basically just a board with a bracket for any riser cards that you have coming out, and it holds the board, it holds the power supply and your hard drives, and then you simply, it has a carry handle so you can just grab it, pick it up, and go with it. So I'd like to have one of those slid underneath, and I'm looking forward, hopefully, I have some high hopes for the new Oculus Rift that is slated to come out this year, and I might have the sound surround sound provided with a Razer 7.1 Tiamat headset, which I certainly wish that I could afford as well. And in addition, because of the space underneath the seat, you could also mount a subwoofer underneath the seat for a little bit better virtual reality. There's no force feedback involved in anything I have here, but a good subwoofer directly underneath you would enhance the experience a fair amount. So that's what I have to offer. If you're interested in making this, I will have the plans up. You should be able to look at the description and find a link directly to the plan. And if you build it, I'd love to know. So anyway, have a good one. Thank you.